system. Getting exciting already. Propellant load will begin at T-minus 35 minutes, as is traditional for Falcon 9, and then we will count down for an on-time launch at 8:02:56 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. Now, one thing, we're going to a 575-kilometer altitude orbit today. Dragon will take itself up there after the Falcon 9 drops it off. And I was looking on my maps, and from here to the Golden Gate Bridge, Hawthorne, California, where we're seeing the Golden Gate Bridge, is 573 kilometers. So if you drove from here to the Golden Gate Bridge, take us about the same amount of time as when the crew woke up at T-minus 8 hours or so, you could get there and do the same distance. The only difference is, while I may be doing the speed limit all the way to the Golden Gate Bridge, you'll never get to space trying to drive your car vertically upwards. It takes a lot more energy over a short period of time, and that's one thing that makes, as we like to say, launch is hard or space is hard. You've got to essentially take, as Kate mentioned earlier, that 1 million pounds of propellant and find a way to burn it in 10 minutes so you can get your velocity up to 17,500 miles an hour, about 7.5 kilometers per second, and that'll finally get Falcon 9's second stage and the Dragon into orbit. Now, there's one thing I do want to mention. Dragon goes into orbit, but the second stage is going just as fast. It's just Dragon will pop off. So both will be in orbit, and then later on, the second stage comes back down to Earth, burns up. We don't try to land it. That'll be on the Starship program.
Yeah, we are about an hour and 20 minutes away from liftoff and eventual stage separation of the Dragon. But in addition to the science and supplies going up onto the Inspiration 4 mission, the crew has also taken along some personal items for their 3-day trip around the planet. We caught up with the crew during training to get a little more insight on what each of them are planning to take into space.
The most special item I'm bringing up to space is this custom jewelry I had made for my wife and 2 daughters. It's a dragon pendant, if you will, and so it'll be going in my satchel on suit-up day, and I'm gonna fly it in space for them. I think we all now have like a really close connection with dragons, and this seemed really appropriate. Something hopefully my family will want to pass along for generations to come.
What I have here today are a couple things that my mother-in-law has asked me to take up into space for her, and some of the connections to these items are just kind of special. So what I have here are 2 pins. They're both orders of the Eastern Star. I mean, if you can take a look at that and see those, but that's that one, and then there's a smaller one here, and this guy here. But these belonged not to her, but to her great-grandmother. The reason it's important to me is not only is it talking about some history and some family connections. My grandfather on my mom's side was a Mason, and my grandmother was also an order member of the Eastern Star, and they were 2 of the coolest people I think I knew. My grandfather had a way of really making anyone feel at ease and welcoming anyone he saw, regardless of their background or where they were from or what they thought. And knowing that, that being able to take up little pins like this that represent something that meant a lot to him and to other folks that in my family, I think that means a lot.
I'm very happy to report that I have turned in all of my payload. I've been thinking about what I wanted to bring to space since January, and I finally turned everything in. And one thing that I'm really excited about that I'm bringing to space is this old picture of me. This is when I was 10 years old and going through bone cancer treatment. And so when I'm in space, I'm gonna pull this photo out, and now getting to be in space, my hair is gonna float everywhere, but yet hold this old picture of me and show all my patients, all these kids going through cancer treatment around the world, that there's a future, that it gets better, and I'm excited to be part of it.
Our training's going really well. one of the other big things we've been working on is our packing for space list, which, I mean, how often do you get to say that you get to pack for space? And thinking about items that are important to us, that have meaning in some way, that we really want to bring with us. And so I have an item here. It's around my neck that I will take off. And this is a ring. And it's my dad's ring. And it's really cool because it's a Thunderbird. And my dad used to wear this all the time. And he passed away when I was 19. So I don't know the origin story of this, but it's a unique design and it's pressed into the ring. And my dad absolutely loved it. And like I said, wore it all the time. And unfortunately, both my parents have passed away. So my mom, I can't even ask her, like, what's the story behind this ring? But I think my dad actually got this before he met my mom. So he's had it for a very long time. And so I'm going to bring that to space to represent my dad. I have my mom's ring here to represent her. And so I've got both my parents, and then something kind of unique and special that they got for me when I was born is this commemorative coin from the island of Guam. So it says Guam, USA, and it says where America's day begins. And so I've had this coin and has 1970 on it because that's the year I was born. And so I feel like this is the first gift my parents ever got for me, was this coin when I was born, and I've had it now for 51 years. And so I'm bringing that to space with me. So I have my coin, and then I have my 2 rings from my parents. And I'm excited to bring them along for this incredible, amazing journey experience. And thank you for everything that you've done to help me get there.
Love seeing how they've all selected things to take with them. In space, weight is everything. So while they probably wanted to take as much as they could, there are limitations, but it seemed like the common theme was family. Personally, I think my favorite thing is the photo of Haley that she's taking. Like she said, she underwent treatment for bone cancer when she was 10, and she's taking up a photo. And of course, she's going to have a photo of herself floating there with hair. And I just love that she's going to have the opportunity to show the patients that she treats at St. Jude that it gets better, and that they can grow up and be an astronaut one day too.
Yeah, I think Jared's memento of a dragon is par for the course today, as they are all seated in dragon. So I think that him and his family are going to have tons of memories to come and be able to share that for generations to come too.
Yeah, I love that they get to take a little bit of something with them. As we've been talking throughout this whole mission, it seems so personal. They get personalized suits. And now they get to bring something with them, some memorabilia for themselves, which I think is really important for a mission like this. So in addition to the space science, in addition to the science supplies and personal items, the Inspiration 4 crew is also taking up a number of items that will be auctioned off to help raise money for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. This includes an original Kings of Leon NFT that was created using live show visuals and a live recording of the band's new single, Time in Disguise, recorded during their hometown show in Nashville just a few weeks ago. The NFT was loaded onto an iPhone 12 and will be played by one of the Inspiration 4 crew members while in space. And there's going to be a bunch of other cool stuff going up that will be auctioned off as well.
Yeah, there's quite a list of things that are heading up. Some of you might recall the Time magazine that was recently published with the Inspiration 4 crew. I think it was such an iconic shot. It was very stoic looking. And there's going to be a copy of that flying on this mission, and the crew will autograph it after the Dragon capsule splashes down in a couple of days. And of course, something for little ones, there's a handful of plastic and plush STEM toys based on the animated series Space Racers. So again, all of these things are available through auction, which is currently live.
Yeah, I love, there's going to be a ukulele in space. Chris is going to be playing a ukulele, and then it's going to come back and be up for auction again, all for a great cause. So I'm so excited to, one, hear him play, and two, see a ukulele in space.
Yeah, and again, this mission is a fundraiser for St. Jude, and I love that they're going to even have some Inspiration 4 mission jackets, which are going to feature some artwork from some of the patients at St. Jude, which is going to be pretty incredible. I think that's definitely something I'm going to try and get.
And there's something on board that I know John I loves, pens that write in space.
Yeah.
They've got the, for those who remember, we had the Fisher space pens that worked in microgravity. And so Fisher has got a 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 that was a couple of years ago. But they're flying that in a coin set into space, and they've included material that's actually from Apollo 11. So something else interesting to bid on.
Yeah, super cool. They're also taking up a customized Mont Blanc Starwalker writing instrument, as well as some stationery that the crew will get to journal about, their experience in space while they're up there. Like I mentioned before, this auction is open. Actually, it opened on Thursday, September 9th, and it will run through November with all of these different items, including the ones we mentioned and more. They'll all be available at various points during the overall mission. And you can bid on these auction items if any of them called to you. Head on over to stjude.org/inspiration4 and check them out.
We're T-minus 1 hour, 11 minutes, 21 seconds, counting down. Everything continues to go well. We also did hear during that last segment, the closeout team has left the crew access arm. So we're actually still running about 19 minutes ahead of schedule on the closeout activities. Earlier, I got in my pitch for my usual, hey, launch is hard, space is hard, and this is kind of the rockets and spacecraft 101. One of the things I thought about, why is it hard? Why can't you just aim your car and go up, 575 kilometers? And we talked a little bit about, hey, you've got to get 1 million pounds of propellant. You've got to figure out how to burn it in 10 minutes. You got to steer the rocket, so you've got to be able to have engines that move, can, withstand wind gusts, get the rockets on the right trajectory. Then we're talking about like the space pen that works in microgravity. You think about it, when our first stage is getting ready to come back to Earth, there's no gravity. So that means none of the propellant is down at the bottom of the inlets to the engines. So that's one of the things you have to work in space, both here and on Dragon. How do you get propellant into the inlet of the pumps and the valves so that instead you're just not pushing gas through there? That's a bad thing that happens when you want liquid and you only get gas going through your rocket. So that's just one of the things that we've got to do. And of course, we've got to fight the force of gravity. 9.8 meters per second squared, we've got to overcome. And so I don't know about you, but when I took physics class, as always, you're sitting on a sled on a frozen pond. It's frictionless. And then how fast do you throw the bricks overboard that are on your sled to essentially make the sled move? And how fast can you go depends on how fast you throw the bricks out. And that leads you to the famous rocket equation. Look that one up, you can see that, but essentially it all comes down to how efficient is the engine and how efficient is the structure. And in the case of the Falcon 9, we tried to be as mass efficient as we could